Hi everyone. Just give me a second here. Just want to make sure that everybody's in. Perfect. Hi everyone. It's so nice for you to join me tonight. My name is Desiree Morso Tapaway-Kijik, and I work as lead for the Indigenous Student Recruitment Team at the University of Manitoba. I'm really excited to be talking to you today about financial planning. Before we get started, I did want to kind of do a little bit of an overview so that you can expect what we'll be going over tonight. I wanted to start off by talking about where do you begin? How do you even figure out how to finance your education, how to start doing that research? We're going to start off with that. Then we're going to move on to scholarships, bursaries, student loans, and even sponsorship. We're going to end off this presentation with tips for success so that you can make sure that you know exactly what you need to do to help prepare for your university education. So where do you begin? The cost of an education is more than just tuition and books. We often want students to understand that estimating your tuition costs and creating an education budget is super important. Some of the things that you need to take into consideration when you're going to school or when you're planning your education is, are you planning on living at home still with your parents or with your loved ones? Are you planning on moving out? If so, are you going to have roommates? Are you going to be living on campus or off campus? These are all the types of things that you need to consider. Are you going to be renting an apartment or a house? Are you going to be having a vehicle? Will you be taking public transit? Those all impact the costs of your education. What's also really important is that it is important to not compare yourself to other people's education journey. What their budget might look like will be very different than what yours is. And we don't want you to be discouraged by the high cost of education, especially if your chosen career is in demand. It's really, really important because we want you to make that investment. I can tell you personally that when I graduated from high school, I went straight to university, but I did move out on my own and it was a lot of work. But I'm so, so proud of myself because it was the best investment that I ever made. I would not have nearly as many opportunities given to me now if I didn't invest in myself and invest in my career of choice by going to school and pursuing an education. So I wanted to share with you an estimated tuition costs. So this right here can be found within the Financial Aid and Awards booth, as well as this booth here. There is a link to resources, so you can go and check it out there. But this estimated tuition cost is based on a full-time course load. So a full-time course load is your 30 credit hours per year. So that would be 5 courses per term. Not all students decide to take a full course load. I myself, when I was going to school, I took roughly about 3 to 4 courses per term because that's what worked best for me. You do whatever works best for you. I was working at the same time as going to school, so I knew that by taking a full course load, I probably wouldn't do as well in my classes. So here, looking at the estimated tuition, you'll see 2 columns. You'll see an estimated cost for Canadian permanent resident students, and then an estimated cost for also international students. And this is based on a University One student taking that University One programming. So please be sure to take a peek at all the estimated tuition costs for the specific program you might be looking at. You can also find it on our website as well. So what are your options? Most students do pay for their post-secondary education with a combination of funds from several different resources. A lot of students sometimes seem to think that they can only take one or the other. For example, I work with a lot of students and sometimes they say, you know what, Desiree, I thought because I was doing Manitoba Student Aid, that means I can't apply for sponsorship or I can't apply for scholarships and bursaries. And that's definitely not the case. You can apply for as much or as little as you need. For myself, I actually used all of these resources when I was going to school, and it definitely helped when it came to making sure that I had enough funds to pay for my tuition and then also my living costs as well. So let's talk a little bit more about scholarships. So scholarships are monetary awards based on your merit. So your merit could be like your academic merit, how well you do in your classes, or your community involvement, community service, your volunteerism. It could be your extracurricular activities, athletic skills, and or other abilities. They're often based on merit, but also gifted by various organizations or by people. There are different eligibility and requirements that do vary per scholarship, so it is really important to pay attention to the fine print and really understand what it is that you're applying for. For example, the University of Manitoba specific scholarships, you must be enrolled in a minimum of 24 credit hours. Other scholarships might have different criteria that you need to follow in order to maintain that scholarship or receive that scholarship. Scholarships do not require repayment though, which is really nice. So it can go towards your tuition to help alleviate that cost. So at the University of Manitoba, we have our U of M General Entrance Scholarship, as you can see here. So in order to be eligible for the General Entrance Scholarship, you must submit your application, your direct entry application before the March 1st deadline. Once you've submitted your application, usually you receive your entrance scholarship if you've been eligible. You'll receive it sometime in May after, May-June after you've received your acceptance. Awards are available only for direct entry students. So you must be a student that has graduated from high school that does not have any other post-secondary education experience. In order to qualify for the University of Manitoba General Entrance Scholarship, you do need to have a minimum 85% average over the 5 best courses from the pre-approved list in 5 different subject areas. So I'm going to show you that in the next slide. As you can see here, there's level 1, 2, and 3 that corresponds with the amount of the scholarship award. In regards to international students can definitely apply for the University of Manitoba International General Entrance Scholarship. Same thing applies. You must be an international student that is paying international student fees and have achieved a minimum high school average of 85% based on the 5 best academic courses from the approved list. And again, you can find that approved list in the Financial Aid and Awards booth here at the open house. You can find it in this booth as well or on our website. So here's the list that I just spoke to in regards to the pre-approved list. So you can take a peek here for our international audience or students that are tuning in from different provinces. Subject areas that we're looking for are the same across provinces and internationally, but the course codes or the names might be different. So just keep that in mind. But again, you can find this on our website and within the booth as well. So in terms of scholarships, we do have internal and external awards as well. So the University of Manitoba does have an award database, which is really fantastic. It's a great resource that we often tell students to utilize. You can put in all of your information and filter through and find all of the scholarships that might apply to you. So those are what are called internal awards. Internal awards are specific to U of M students only. External scholarships would be scholarships that are given by different organizations. Like, for example, I know that Assiniboine Credit Union has one, TD Bank, RBC, the City of Winnipeg has one. So I often encourage students, talk with your family members, with your parents. Maybe their workplace has a scholarship that you can apply for. So those are external awards. So what we always tell students as well is to use Google and online scholarship sites. Those are really, really perfect. It does take some time to get used to doing research. What I used to do when I was in high school and even throughout my entire undergraduate degree is once a month, about for 2 to 3 hours, I would set aside some time where I would research all of the scholarships available. So I would just, type in Google, scholarships in the province of Manitoba for students under the age of 25 in this field of study. You can make it as specific or as generic as you want. And I would do that all the time to kind of figure out what scholarships I could apply for. But this is a great way. For any students that are in grade 9, 10, or 11 that are tuning in, I do want you to be aware of the Indigenous Leader of Tomorrow and Leader of Tomorrow Scholarship. Those are prestigious awards that you can apply for in your grade 12 year, but they're based on your grade 11 marks. So again, that information can be found in the Financial Aid and Awards booth. So please go and head there after this presentation and take a peek to see the requirements. So let's talk a little bit about bursaries. Bursaries are based on documented financial need and the ability to continue your studies. So bursaries do not have to be repaid. U of M bursaries require a minimum 2.0 GPA and full-time enrollment, so 18 credit hours. So that's about 3 classes per term. External bursaries may have different requirements. So again, like I was saying earlier, every scholarship or bursary will have their own terms of reference in regards to the criteria that you need to meet to either apply for and be eligible to apply for that scholarship or bursary, and then also maintain, because some scholarships and bursaries are renewable. So that's something that you really need to pay attention to. The average value of a bursary range in amounts from $100 to $1,000, with over 8 million awarded annually. So when I mentioned your GPA, for those of you that might not be aware, is your grade point average. So minimum GPA 2.0 GPA is roughly around a C+, so you do want to make sure that you're maintaining those. So just a little background information, I was definitely a student that did utilize a lot of bursaries. Again, it's based on your documented financial need. I came from a household that didn't have a high earning potential. We didn't have a ton of money. My mom was a single mom. I had siblings. So I was able to apply for a lot of bursaries because of the documented financial need, and also because I did move out on my own. So that's just something to consider, another way for you to look for different resources in order for you to apply for those bursaries. The University of Manitoba has the general bursary. You would apply to the University of Manitoba general bursary once you've been accepted to the U of M. So the deadline is October the 1st, and you apply in August of each year. All bursaries require a budget section to be completed. So you would complete all of your bills, everything that you have to budget for your monthly expenses, you would submit that. International students can apply for the University of Manitoba General Bursary once you're in your second year of study. So loans, so monetary amount of funds that must be repaid with a rate of interest. So one that you might be familiar with is student loans. So government student loans that are funded provincially and federally. So money comes from both the provincial and the federal government. If you are a full-time Canadian or permanent resident student, you can apply for student loans from the federal provincial governments to help support your studies. Loans from your financial institution, say for example your bank or your credit union, you would need to inquire directly. So you would just need to make an appointment with your bank or your credit union to discuss the process of applying for a loan if that's the route that you so choose. So for Manitoba Student Aid, it's an online application that is available in June, and you register for both terms to qualify for a government loan. You must be a full-time student with at least 9 credit hours. So 9 credit hours is roughly 3 classes per term. So each term for a total of 18 credit hours minimum. There is no interest or payment while in school, which is awesome. I definitely took out a Manitoba Student Aid, and it was the best decision that I made for myself. It really, really helped me to be able to focus on my education because I didn't have to worry about tuition. I was able to work at the same time, but I just used that for living costs and things that I needed. So one thing that's really important is that repayment does begin 6 months after your last full day of full-time enrollment. So what that means is, say for example, you decide to go to school, but then you decide to take some time off, whether it's 6 months or a year or a couple of years. That is important because your loan repayment does start 6 months after your last date of full-time enrollment, not your graduation. So if you haven't graduated, you still need to contact Manitoba Student Aid, let them know that you're stepping back from your studies, and then they would consult with you about the process in terms of repayment and how that process works. If you're looking for more information, Manitoba Student Aid, you can go to their direct website. You can go to Google, type in Manitoba Student Aid, it'll pop up. But you can also find information within the Financial Aid and Awards booth after this presentation. So let's talk a little bit about sponsorship. So financial sponsorship can be eligible for Indigenous students that may include tuition, fees, mandatory books, supplies, and allowance. So if you are an Indigenous student that is Treaty Status First Nation, you can apply to receive post-secondary education sponsorship, which is financial assistance to help alleviate the above listed costs, as well as sometimes travel costs for Northern Indigenous students that maybe need a little bit of help to travel home during their winter break or their reading week. Students are advised to contact their specific education authority, band, tribal council from their specific community. So there may be students that are really connected to their community, or maybe they live on reserve, so they know who and where to contact in order to get an application for funding. And then there might be folks that are either urban Indigenous students, or maybe you're just not as connected to your home community, and the idea of pursuing funding is a little bit overwhelming, you're not entirely sure. You can always reach out to the Indigenous student recruitment team, and we would be happy to assist you with the application. Sometimes once students even receive the application, they're not entirely sure how to fill it out, so we can help assist students with that as well. For INUE students, we ask that you contact your designated organization in the province or territory of your residence to determine your eligibility. And then for Métis or non-status Indian students entering in full-time studies, you may be eligible for financial support, and we do ask that you connect directly with the MMF Post-Secondary Education Support Program. Again, if you have any questions, you're not entirely sure, you would like some assistance, by all means, you can always reach out to the Indigenous Student Recruitment Team, and we would be more than happy to assist you with this process. So let's talk a little bit about wages and saving. This is a great way to help supplement and to help pay for your education. So some students prefer to do that. They've been paying or saving for their education. So you can do that. You can have part-time employment, on and off-campus opportunities. And this is kind of where Career Services comes into play. Career Services is a great resource for students to use. They're an office located on campus that assists with resume writing, connecting you with different employment opportunities, and they also run a work-study program. Work-study is meant for students that are either on sponsorship or have been approved for Manitoba Student Aid that can find employment, meaningful employment on campus through the work-study program. So there's tons of ways to gain, obviously, employment on campus and then also off campus as well. So let's talk a little bit about tips for success. So you get what you put in. Results often reflect time and effort spent. I know that it's really overwhelming, and I know that it's a lot of work to fill out all of these different types of applications specifically for scholarships and bursaries, but I promise you it does pay off and you will get better at it with more practice. So it is worth your time. An hour of effort could result in $100. And I mean, that's a lot of money for only putting in 1 hour of work. So I definitely say be consistent. Set some time aside, maybe monthly or bi-weekly, to look at all the upcoming scholarships and bursaries that you can apply for, and then create yourself a personal portfolio. This is something really important to kind of keep yourself organized. So I always tell students, if you have accomplishments or achievements, your resume, personal summary, keep it all together in a file or keep it organized on your laptop. This way, when you are applying for scholarships and bursaries, you can take everything that you need, you can pick and choose what you're going to use. Typically, for scholarships and bursaries, they usually require that budget sheet for bursaries, a personal summary, a resume, reference letters. That's typically sometimes more, sometimes less. But if you have all of that already organized, it just makes it 10 times easier to kind of get through a bunch of scholarships and bursaries at once. And then do your research. Know the details before starting your application. That's a big one. Again, when you set aside that time, it's just going to help you in the long run. And then don't take yourself out of the running. Many awards go unallocated just because no one applies. I know a lot of students that have, hemming and hawing, saying, I don't know if I'm going to get it. I don't think I should. I don't want to apply. Just do it. Sometimes what happens is that no one else applies, and then you might end up getting that scholarship or bursary just simply because you applied. So, and it also helps you get in the practice. Just keep filling out as many applications as you can. And with that practice, it's just going to come a lot easier. And then lastly, knowing your finances, creating a budget and then sticking to it. That's the most important thing. That way you're stress-free. You can really focus on your studies. You're not worrying about all that other stuff, all the finance stuff if you already have a plan in place. If you have any questions about what we went over today, we would love to help support you. You can email us at student_recruitment or indigenous_recruitment@umanitoba.ca. But we still have another hour left of our open house, so we would really encourage you to go check out the folks at the Financial Aid and Awards booth so that they can assist you directly. We would love to help you. And again, I hope this was helpful. Shoot us an email if you have any questions. We would love to support you on your academic journey. I hope you have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks. Bye-bye.